Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is the beginnings of Week 13. And tomorrow also happens to be my favorite holiday.
Turkey Day. Your favorite
Turkey
holiday,
Day,
huh?
Thanksgiving. Well, see, everyone chooses
Christmas,
and it's
which is
you get free presents. That's great, and you get to eat the same amount of food, which is great.
So doesn't that?
But
that right there should wait out.
Thanksgiving is just legendary.
Okay.
Plus, I'm an American patriot, so I love.
Okay.
America.
All right. I'm not gonna hate you on that. I like Thanksgiving too. I'm not gonna hate.
It's Wednesday, November 27th. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up?
Today we discuss Week 12 booms and busts, as well as break down some weekly matchups per normal. Before we get into our booms and busts for the week, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the FF Champs. Follow us on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions.
Wow.
Subscribe wherever you listen. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Let's get right in to those wonderful booms and busts from this week. I am just going to quickly check to see if this actually works, because
It's working for me.
every single week we do this.
The problem is it's not the quarterbacks that don't work.
It fries out.
The quarterbacks work. It's when you start to change everything.
It's when I switch to half PPR. That's when things completely collapse mid-show. So, if they're like, what are they talking about?
They have no idea.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's our
we're gonna talk about some booms and busts. So this is an interesting one because I wanted to talk about Ryan Tannehill a little bit.
Okay.
Do you want to hear some Tannehill numbers?
Some Tannehill numbers.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Some Tannehill numbers. Sorry, I was trying to unlock my phone.
No, it's okay.
And my face was not lined up with the Face ID. The real struggle. So Ryan Tannehill, he had 259 yards, 2 touchdowns this week, 32 fantasy points. Forgive me. That's normal. If you look at our league, it's 34 because our 5-point touchdowns.
Yeah, he had. Yeah.
I feel like a psychopath for enforcing that rule. But anyway. So for Ryan Tannehill, since he came on as a starter, he's faced Los Angeles, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Kansas City, and Jacksonville, right?
Okay, that's
21, 22, 24, 20, 34.
Woo!
It's pretty good. And he plays Indy this week. You want to hear his playoff matchups?
What is it?
Number 28, Oakland. Number 26, Houston. And number 21, New Orleans. So he has a very good playoff schedule. What are your thoughts on Ryan Tannehill? Because he is like, I would think he's a quarterback pickup of the week. You can't play him against Indy.
Yeah, he's up there.
But if he's on your waiver wire right now, and you're worried about Dak Prescott playing Los Angeles and Philly.
Yeah.
This is a guy. Tannehill could win you some playoff games here.
Especially that week 14 against Oakland, I think it's going to be.
The only concern with Tannehill that I have is he's been fantastic. He's been very good. Is that he's had, in the last 2 weeks against Kansas City and Jacksonville, he's had 19 passes and 18 passes.
I was just looking at that.
So before that, he had 33, 39, and 29.
Which is decent.
Which is very good. But I mean, now against Jacksonville, they were blowing Jacksonville out at halftime.
Yeah. And he, like, a lot of his fantasy points came from running the ball.
Right.
He had 2 rushing touchdowns.
I really can't explain. I think Kansas City's just game script, really.
Yeah, Kansas City, yeah.
So, I mean, if he continues to throw 30-plus passes a game, I think he'll have good games against Oakland and Houston and New Orleans. Especially, like, Oakland, even though they lost this week against the Jets. They are probably a very good matchup for him. Houston is going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of scoring.
New Orleans might be tough. I know they rank 21st against quarterbacks, but it is at home.
That's
so
also going to be high scoring, so they're going to have to try to stay into it. So I don't like these matchups for Derrick Henry, only because Henry is not a pass-catching running back, and if they're playing from behind, that's not good things. But anyway, he does have a good schedule rest of season. He's a guy that you should probably definitely think about picking up, unless you have like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. So, the Russell Wilson owners are getting very stressed out.
Yeah.
17, 17, 44, and then 10, or whatever order it was in.
Yeah, something like that.
But right now, outside of those top 3 quarterbacks I just mentioned, it's getting kind of bland. Now, I did want to say this. Tell me where the first top 3 quarterback is listed on this list.
It's not Deshaun Watson anymore. He's number 4, right?
Top 5.
Okay, so then it would be Deshaun Watson, right?
At 10.
At 10.
I'm talking just rankings, not like seasonal, which means Watson would be number 3. Yeah.
So yeah,
number 10. So that means Ryan Tannehill was number 1. We had Darnold with 28, who we talked about yesterday.
Uh-huh.
We have Jameis Winston,
my
who had
QB
26.
start of the week.
You had Jameis Winston?
Yeah.
All right. 26 fantasy points for Winston. It was a gross 26 points, but you'll take it.
Disgusting.
25 fantasy points for Ryan Fitzmagic.
Oh, look at that.
Mr. Baker Mayfield had 24. Breeze had 23. Kyle Allen had 23. Mitch Trubisky had 20. And then Josh Allen had 20. So, yeah, it's because you had a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
Don't be confused. But then you have Deshaun Watson. My point of doing that is to say teams will win fantasy championships by streaming quarterbacks. You did not have a top 3 quarterback. Now, Mahomes is on a bye.
And so is Lamar.
And Lamar Jackson's not on a bye. He played on Monday night.
Oh.
So this is,
right,
yeah. Anyway, so I would assume that he had a very good game. A lot of this is pre-recorded. But you look at these numbers, regardless of wherever Lamar lands, right? You have 9 of the top 10 quarterbacks right now who aren't ranked as a top 3 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's astounding. Like Tannehill, Sam Darnold, Winston, Fitzpatrick, Baker Mayfield, and Kyle Allen, and Mitch Trubisky, along with maybe even Josh Allen, were probably all in some leagues on a waiver wire where you could have picked them up and played them and got a good start. Which means, no one probably started Darnold, Tannehill, Fitzmagic, and Kyle Allen, and Trubisky. Right, but you probably had some people starting like Winston and Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Mayfield, because we told you to. But like, if you picked up one of these guys and you played them, there's a good chance that one of the teams in your league had another quarterback that didn't play
started
well.
Like Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson,
and completely
Aaron Rodgers,
had them poop
Matt
the
Ryan, Dak Prescott, like all these guys.
But it's like, it goes, I hate to go on like 12-minute rants every episode about streaming quarterbacks, but it just goes to show you how easy streaming quarterbacks is.
Yeah.
So anyway, is there anybody in particular that you wanted to point out or talk about in the top 10?
Not in the top 10, no.
Okay. And then do you have anyone else maybe like in the top 15 you wanted to talk about? Or this is a low-scoring week for quarterbacks,
other than
by the way.
Jimmy G MVP, no. That's about it. Jeff Driscoll has consistently, while he started, though, gotten like 15 plus
he was
points.
bad this week.
Oh, he's terrible as a quarterback.
Yeah, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
But fantasy-wise, he gets 15 plus because he rushes.
Wow. Yeah, we had some big busts. If you still have... I want to just... This is the last week we're going to mention Tom Brady as a bust because you shouldn't have him on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
You should drop him. Carson Wentz had 10. He's been very disappointing. He is a guy that you expect...
I had very high expectations.
Especially here at the end of the season, right? Where he does have a very easy schedule.
Now, he did lose to Deshaun Jackson. And
he didn't have him last year.
I know, but like after week 1, when he had a good week, and Deshaun Jackson had 2 touchdowns.
You're right. In his defense, he's had no receivers.
Nelson Aguilar is not the same player as he once was.
I think he was hurt too.
Absolutely blown. He was hurt, but when he's like, he either got I don't know what's going on with him.
Unlike Aguilar.
And Alshon Jeffrey has also kind of been not a good player either. So he has had nothing to work with.
And then Rodgers, 9 points. Russell Wilson with 10.
That Wilson one really blows.
Now this was expected. Dak Prescott 7.
Even Rodgers, what did Rodgers get?
10.
Yeah, that was expected to against
9.5.
San Francisco.
Yeah. So Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers kind of expected, but it's still a bust for what you expect from those guys. Now, for Rodgers, this week is like it for Rodgers. If you own Rodgers, this is it. It's kind of tough because we've talked about this season where Rodgers has been a very, boom player, bust player, good matchup, good game, bad matchup, bad game. This is it for Aaron Rodgers. This week is probably the last time you could start him.
Who's he playing this week?
I believe it's... Hold on, let me pull it up so I don't give false information. I don't know that anybody has started him in the last couple weeks, but if you did, that's kind of devastating.
Yeah, it's been tough.
Who owns him in our league?
The Bomb Squad.
I got it.
Yeah.
So he's playing the Giants. And then
that's a great game.
Maybe you can play him against Washington.
I would play him against one. Yeah, I would.
And then Chicago and Minnesota.
I don't want to play him those 2 weeks.
So I would ride him for maybe 2 more weeks.
And then you're done.
You're done. Just drop him. Get rid of him. Let somebody else pick him up and then completely get... you drop him, and the team you play in Week 15 in the playoffs picks him up, and then he craps his pants against Chicago, and then you're sitting there going, oh, as you stream a quarterback and win your fantasy championship.
That'd be funny because you could get away with that too. Because if you're in it at Week 15, there's only 4 other teams in it too.
Yeah, and
chances are the other 3 have quarterbacks already.
Right.
So if you drop Aaron Rodgers, nobody's gonna pick him up.
Big deal. And then you have Matty Ice, 8 points. I think it was.
So
Adam,
I think he was
Adam
probably
Rank,
he might have been the biggest bust this week.
Adam Rank from NFL Network tweeted, I literally laughed out loud when he when I read this tweet. He said, "I'm going to rage drop Matt Ryan," and that explains how Matt Ryan owners feel. Because it's true. You should just rage drop Matt Ryan at this point.
Did you watch the game?
It's so bad. I did. I watched a little bit of it.
He got sacked while I was watching Disney Plus. Shout out. I had that game on my phone.
Yeah.
And there was a possession where he got sacked 3 first down, he gets sacked. Second down, he gets sacked. Third down, he gets sacked. And, that is on the offensive line. Right. But it's also on Matt Ryan. He had... Some of those he had time. Throw the ball away. He had time to throw the ball away. He had time to make a throw down the field. And he would see the pressure coming, and he would just fall down.
You just collapse.
Yeah. And against Tampa Bay, who, going into the week, was the worst defense against quarterbacks. They ranked 32nd against quarterbacks. Yeah. Matt Ryan... There was no excuse for him to go out and get 8 fantasy points.
No, it's true. I don't think there was anyone else in quarterbacks.
There is. There's one more.
Oh, who is it?
Derek Carr.
I don't think that's...
Well, here's why. Derek Carr has been good the last few weeks.
Oh, they pooped themselves against the Jets. That's right.
He played against the Jets, like you said, which, again, was a great matchup for him. Right. The Jets, going into this week, was a bottom team against quarterbacks. Right. And Derek Carr had 17, 26, 21, 14, 20, so he was... decent and a good streaming option, and he comes out and gets 5 fantasy points.
Yuck.
Brutal.
Yeah, I think you told people to start him.
I think I did. Wow. See, that's the problem with stream. You're gonna tell people to stream 5 quarterbacks, and every week you're gonna get a Gardner Minshew.
Yep, that's true. Let's move to running backs. Some boom running backs. Fournette, 32 fantasy points. Finally, the scoring has come back, and hopefully stays. For the sake of all Leonard Fournette owners. McCaffrey is just a monster. There's nothing really else you can talk about.
Yeah, McCaffrey is just consistently top 3 in this list.
29 fantasy points. It's literally... Should it shock people anymore that he continues to be... It's ridiculous. He's freaking unreal. Yeah. It's unreal. Derrick Henry, 28, had a very good game. Most of it came on, like I said, 12 seconds of play. He would have come away with it without that 14 second sequence. He would have only had maybe 8 fantasy points in the entire game.
Oh wow!
And then you have Nick Chubb, 23. Finally, a good comeback game. Nick Chubb. This is something that was boiling for a while. A lot of people were getting nervous, saying, "Oh, Kareem Hunt's taking his work." Well, he wasn't. It was, I think since Kareem Hunt came back, he had 22 carries, 22 touches, 23
He's still getting
touches.
the same carries.
Right. He's getting the same number of carries and touches. He's even getting involved in the passing game still. So Nick Chubb is still there. The touches are going to turn into fantasy points at some point. And it happened this week against Miami. So we'll see if he can continue that. this upcoming week against Pittsburgh. Jonathan Williams on Thursday Night Football. We were all taken by surprise when Frank Reich announced that Jonathan Williams is going to start over A1 Jordan Wilkins. And so he came out and he had 19 fantasy points.
Now, I did say to sit the Colts running backs, but that was because of the report that they were going to all split carries.
Yeah.
But now that
Frank Reich hates people.
Yeah, I guess he just hates people, yeah.
And then
Jonathan Williams, though,
just
after this
ripped
week,
our soul out.
If Marlon Mack, do we know how long Marlon Mack's out?
He's going to miss this week. I forgot to put that in our news.
So he could potentially be a good start this week.
Yeah, I would guess that Marlon Mack misses 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens with that. But Jonathan Williams, who's he play this week?
I have no clue.
I can pull it up right now really quickly and just see it for you.
Okay.
He is going up against Tennessee. So that's not a great matchup.
Yeah, so
it's not a great matchup. It's a divisional matchup, but they are at home.
He could be okay.
It could be all right, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. They're giving him a lot of touches, so that's a great sign. But Jonathan Williams with 19. Rashad Penny had 18 fantasy points. Really good day for Rashad Penny. He had,
I think, a 60-yard touchdown run.
Yeah. And then Kamara 14. Zeke 5 yards a carry. The nice and steady game against New England Patriots. 14 fantasy points. He is very much matchup proof. I know people were nervous about playing him against New England.
Oh no, yeah.
The only problem was that they couldn't get in the red zone to score a freaking touchdown. And had they done that, Zeke probably would have punched it in. But anyway, Ronald Jones 14 points. He only had, I believe, 15 touches, 14 rushes, and then 1 catch. So he was able to put together another decent game. We'll have to see what Ronald Jones has been like. So he like has a game that makes you think, and then he has like a crap performance, and you're like, what happened? And then he has another good game, and you're like, oh, maybe he can. But it's like it's all based on his touch load. It's all based on his load.
Yeah.
Because like weeks where he just they said we're gonna get him more work, and they got him like 17, 18 touches, and he got 18 fantasy points, right? Yeah. And then the very following week, 6 touches. This week he had 15 touches, gets 14 fantasy points. Like when he gets the load, he produces. When he doesn't, he blows. And everyone's like, "Oh, not Rashad Penny. Ronald Jones just sucks." And it's like, no, he's just not. For some reason, Bruce Arians is just like, nope.
Yep.
So anyway, Le'Veon Bell had 13.
Consistently continues to be a low end RB1,
which is exactly where we ranked him, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you had Mostert, and kind of a low-scoring week for running backs this week.
Yeah, I don't think that's the first time you said that this season.
Yeah. And then, I mean,
Singletary would have had a monster week too, but
really?
he had 21 carries for 109 yards. But he had 21 carries for 109 yards.
Oh, there you go.
But he had 1 catch for 2 yards.
Yeah, got to get more involved in the passing game, I guess. Some busts. Chris Carson.
Yeah,
7 fantasy points.
I think he only had 8 carries.
Yeah, because he fumbled early.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon had 3 straight games with I think it was 15 or more fantasy points, and this week he came back down to earth and had 8. 7.9.
Barkley had just 7, huh?
Philip Lindsay was somebody who a lot of fantasy experts felt was going to have a good game this week against Minnesota, who's given up the 20th least fantasy points to running backs. So it was a good matchup for Lindsay. He only came away with 7 fantasy points in this game. I believe it wasn't against Minnesota. Who are they playing? I keep thinking it was Minnesota. They weren't playing Minnesota. I kept telling myself
I think it was Buffalo.
It was Buffalo, yeah. Buffalo got out real early, got a lead. I think it was, what was it, 20-3?
I don't know why people would start Lindsay this week against Buffalo anyway.
The Buffalo is the number 20 rush defense.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not very good against the run for some reason.
I thought their defense was pretty good, but I guess it's just their pass defense.
Saquon has had 5 and 7.
The last 2 weeks, yeah.
Is the injury a problem? Now, I thought about it. When the injury was happening, a lot of people were like, well, I'm going to strike now with the iron's hot, and I'm gonna go out and I'm going to get myself Saquon Barkley as a trade option. Now, we told you to do that probably.
Yeah, I was going to say I was on that train too.
We were all on that train.
I'm still on that train if you can. But
yeah, if you still have trade.
So is it that or?
I think it's his injury. I really do.
Is it his injury, or
They're using him differently as well.
is it that, or the fact that teams are just...
I just listed everything, so what are you trying to
I know
say?
last season they did this, and in
Yeah.
the beginning of the year teams do this, but I feel like it's become even more of a focus.
Yeah.
Teams have always put 9 in the box when they've played the Giants since Barkley's been in the league.
Yeah.
But it feels now more than ever that teams are just... They're like, we're going to just stop Barkley. We don't care if you throw it to
Right.
Golden Tate. We don't care if you throw it to Darius Slater. But you are not going to let Barkley score. They always have 1 or 2 guys
Yeah.
keeping an eye on Barkley at all times. I feel like defenses are just forcing the
He
Giants
only
to do
had
everything
he only
else.
had 3 targets this week for 2 catches.
I know, because every time he'd go out like for a check down, there was always a guy in his face.
Yeah.
Like they were not letting him do anything.
But what is his rest of season outlook? Because he's not.
Well,
been,
I think it's still decent if you have Barkley. I wouldn't fully panic because
the Philadelphia game in Week 14 is brutal.
that stinks. Yeah,
But
But-
you have Green Bay, Miami, and Washington.
that's 3 very good matchups.
Yeah. If you do like our league we do our trade deadline Week 13 instead of Week 12,
Or
all
week
the way
11.
up until
we go up to the
yeah we go all the way up till the end of the regular season.
which I think we were supposed to change to the week before this week, but I'm not gonna say
whatever.
someone in our league was complaining about that.
Oh really?
Yeah, but I'll bring that up for.
Oh, okay, all right. But so if you still trade, Barkley is a
I'd go after
is a
him
good
just 'cause of his-
player to
yeah,
go
just-
after. But I would still be nervous about it because if you get Barkley, you're gonna have to pay a lot,
Yeah.
and when you get him,
What
if
is
he continues to play like this, then you really just wasted all of your time.
Yeah. What would you deal for him right now?
I don't even
Would
know.
you trade a wide receiver 1 for him?
Yeah, low end.
You wouldn't trade like Hopkins,
No.
Julio.
No.
Okay.
But I'm scared of Saquon Barkley right now. The panic meter's on 6.
Oh, that's pretty
So-
high.
But here's another thing: is that if he really is hurt or something like that,
Well, if he is, why are the Giants playing him?
well, that's what I'm saying. Is that I feel like at some point they're just going to completely shut him down,
Yeah.
and then you're going to be screwed out of a running back rest of the season. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know. It's kind of a moral conflict in my mind of whether you
Dude,
should.
I'm looking at the
bench
rest
Saquon
of the
Barkley or
bust list. There's a lot of guys we can talk about.
All right, so let's get on it.
Jalen Samuels had 4.5 people,
Yeah.
including us, said he could be a good start. Against Cincinnati, he stunk. Josh Jacobs had 4. They benched him in the third quarter. It wasn't even his fault. Like, he actually did okay when he was out there. But the Raiders just choked against the Jets. Aaron Jones had 3.8.
Well, you didn't
Aaron
want to talk about Montgomery?
At this point, is really
He's like, is it really? Poor Montgomery. 4 points.
Yeah, Montgomery wasn't good. Aaron Jones, though.
Honorable mention.
We've talked. Aaron Jones is the most fake good running back in this league, in my opinion, fantasy wise. Because where's he?
Touchdown upside?
He's so touchdown. If he doesn't get a touchdown,
Facing
though,
San Francisco, give him a
I
break.
know, but this isn't the first time. Against the Chargers, he had 3. Against the Bears on opening night, he had 4. Against the Lions, he had 6.
really is. He's the most fake good running.
But then he'll get 45 against Dallas or
Could you
38
say the same
against
thing
Kansas
about
City.
like Mike Evans?
Yeah, but I think
Justifiable.
yes, you can actually. But Mike Evans, I think to me is like a better player than Aaron
Yeah.
Jones.
I
Not
don't,
that Aaron Jones
it's
is terrible,
not-
but Aaron Jones in fantasy right now is the number 3 ranked running back. That is
They're
so
not ranked. Number 3.
number 3 scoring.
Yep.
To me, like where I would rank him,
He should be. He should be higher.
he'd be like 10.
Jeez.
Maybe not 10. He'd be higher, but not. He wouldn't be 3.
Yeah, I think the ECR has him. I'll check right now.
Yeah.
I think the rest of
What does
season.
Fantasy Pros ECR have him? He does have a good schedule rest of the season. Like he plays the Giants, Redskins, and Bears next 3 weeks. Although then Minnesota week 16. So
Yeah, his rest of season rank is, I believe it's 6 or 7.
yeah, I'd probably have him like 8. So
Fournette or
I might have Fournette.
Fournette or Jones.
I might take Fournette. I'm
Chubb
being
or
serious.
Jones?
I'd take Chubb.
Henry or Jones.
Jones.
Okay, so you would have him like 8 or 9.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not that he's a bad running back. I
he's
think
not. He's a good
I
player.
think
He's
it's
just not.
because do you know how many points Jamal Williams had?
How many?
11.
Really?
He gets 11 like every week.
Huh.
So I think it's the fact that they're splitting work. You know what I mean? I think that's purely the fact that Aaron Jones has these big games and then he has these bust games, because splitting the work only goes so far. You know what I mean? Like, if he got 20 touches a game like freaking Fournette did, he'd be a monster. But he's just not.
Yeah, he's not a bad player, but he's.
Yeah.
I don't like. Do you watch Aaron Jones play and go like, he's a top 3 running back?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes,
really?
Sometimes when you watch him, you're like, "Holy crap, this guy's good."
I mean, I've had Aaron Jones on my fantasy team before. I've always liked him. I think he's a good player, but I never thought of him in the same league as like Barkley or like McCaffrey.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Jacobs, did you talk about Josh Jacobs already?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Briefly. Is there anyone else you want to?
I'm looking. Oh, they actually gave Myles Gaskin some work for.
Yeah, 2 fantasy.
So that workload that people were talking about for Jay Ajayi, he was going to get a noticeable workload, is what people were saying. 1.6 fantasy points. So there's nothing else here. Let's talk about wide receivers. Godwin, mother of heaven, Chris Godwin with 33.9 fantasy points. He has ascended back into greatness. Now, if he finishes the season with 5 20-point games, I'll be very happy.
Yeah. I mean, if he does that, then talk about a league winner.
Yeah, but he had 33 fantasy points. It is confusing as to what you like. At this point, he has a good schedule. You got to ride him out, but it's nice to know, right, that this guy has a floor of 10 points.
Yeah, just by how much they throw the football.
Yes,
I mean, honestly, he's not gonna score under 10 points. The only way he would score under 10 points is if somehow Winston gets benched or hurt. I think at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Godwin is definitely
which him getting benched is a legit possibility.
At this point, they're just gonna let it go.
Yeah,
I think there's no reason to do it. Then you have Jarvis Landry, 31 fantasy points. He's been good the last couple weeks. Like I said in the last episode, I think David Njoku coming back whenever that happens is going to affect Jarvis Landry a little bit. But Landry has been Baker's favorite target so far since he started playing better. So it's interesting to see the slot receiver. This is like similar to it's like poor man's Chris Godwin, Mike Evans going on here with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. So we'll have to wait and see with Jarvis Landry and hope that maybe he actually is relatively decent. But he does these games where he just has monsters games and then he just falls off a cliff. DJ Moore, 28. DeAndre Hopkins, 24. Allen Robinson, 22. Told you to start him. Humble brag. A.J. Brown, 21. Michael Thomas, 21 again. How many weeks in a row? What is the prop? The prop bet for Michael Thomas getting another 21 fantasy point game?
I have no idea, but it's probably.
Calvin Ridley, 19. Will Fuller had 17. Again, Will Fuller, when he plays, he's a wide receiver too. Low end. High end wide receiver too. So he continues to play well.
Odell decided to show up.
Odell had 17. I think he caught like a 40-yard touchdown pass from Baker.
He's actually the exact same he's been all season. The only because he gets like 7 to 10 points every week.
Yeah.
The only difference is he got a touchdown.
Yep. And then James Washington was 17. Tyler Boyd had 16. Good week for wide receivers. So you saw a lot. Devontae Adams had 15, which is a wide receiver one numbers. Julian Edelman with 13. So. Then you had some. Tyler Boyd at 16 points.
The week.
Do you expect that to continue?
No.
Okay. All right. And then we got what do we got for some busts here? Mike Evans was 7.
Yeah. That's a legit bust.
There wasn't a lot of busts at wide receiver this week.
Tyler Lockett. Who was the number 5 receiver in fantasy?
4 fantasy points.
Yeah, he had 4 fantasy points. That's not good. T.Y. Hilton's return game. Was it his return game or did he play last week?
I think he played last week.
Okay. But
they're really they're taking their time.
Yeah. Cortland Sutton. There you go. 3 points.
3 points. Allen Lazard with 3 points. Yeah.
Jamison Crowder. What
do you have, 2?
Yeah, he had 3 straight weeks with 16 fantasy points before this week.
Yeah. And then Josh Gordon, if you still own him, you should probably just drop him at this point. Yeah. He is a shell of himself.
Would you count Emmanuel Sanders as a bust with 2 points?
Yeah. I mean, against the Packers, it was a tough matchup, so I didn't really expect too much. But
Deebo Samuel was kind of the guy.
Deebo Samuel is going to continue being the guy too.
Okay. Well, Kittle is the guy, but for receivers.
Yeah, I guess. So that'll do it for wide receivers. Let's talk quickly about some tight ends, and then we got to go through some matchup breakdowns and then conclude the show. Kittle, monster game, 21.
The guy.
Ertz, 21. Cook has been, if you look at the last few weeks, I want to go over the last 4 weeks. Jared Cook has emerged as a consistent, cute little tight end in the last couple weeks.
If you honestly, you could take it back to week 5.
I just completely broke my.
So since week 5, so he had 12 in week 5.
Yep.
11 in week 6. Then he didn't play 3 straight weeks because of an injury and then the bye week. He comes back, has 10, 10, 18.
Wow.
So he's had double-digit fantasy points since week 5. For a tight end,
That's crazy.
that's really good.
So yeah, I mean, he's a good guy to own if he's on your waiver wire, which I don't think he is. Then you should go pick him up.
Yeah.
Gesicki was the number 4 tight end, 10 fantasy points. Caden Smith from New York, the backup tight end for your boy Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
He had 10 points.
Who I probably should have picked up.
Somebody tell me who Logan Thomas is.
He's
not really sure who
the
that
third
is.
string tight end for Detroit.
And then you had Ryan Griffin / Chris Herndon. 8 fantasy points, same guy. Greg Olsen had 6. Ebron had 6, and then Jaden Graham in Atlanta, the backup tight end. It's starting to get that point in the year. So
no Hunter Henry, no Evan Ingram, and no Kelsey this week either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3 of the typically top 10 tight ends right there.
And then we have Darren Waller had 5.
Are you worried about Darren Waller?
I am a little bit, but I just don't know what else to. There's literally nothing.
You'd have to trade for somebody at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to trade for a monster tight end.
Which you probably.
Do I even want one?
I think you do, considering you have. See, I'd tell you what I would do if I were you.
I will never trade the Waller.
Okay then.
I love Darren Waller. And then I don't think there was any busts.
Other than the Waller, not really.
Yeah.
Unless you count O.J. Howard.
No. He's been off this board for a while.
Vance McDonald, the guy I picked up because I have 2 tight ends on my team. Why do I have 2 tight ends on my team? Well, one of them is Evan Ingram, one of them is Hunter Henry. I'd be dumb.
Ingram missed a game.
I'd be dumb to cut Evan Ingram, right? And I'm like, well, when Hunter Henry goes on a bye, I have Evan Ingram in a decent matchup. Evan Ingram decides to get hurt and does not. Everyone says he's coming back this week. He should be back this week. His timetable says this week is his return week. Decides not to play. So I'm stuck here picking up a 3rd tight end, which ends up being Vance McDonald.
Frick.
1 catch for 5 yards. Sorry, 1 catch for 1 yard. He had 1 catch, 1 yard.
Yeah.
0.6 fantasy points.
That's gross.
I would just like to announce my retirement from fantasy football starting today.
Let's go over some matchup breakdowns. We're going to go over 6, I believe. We're back to normal with the no bye week situation now. So the first 3 games are on Turkey Day. Woo! We got the Bears at Lions.
The Turkey Day games. These
the
are
Bills
awesome.
Usually
terrible games, but awesome to watch.
Oh, yeah. The Bills at the Cowboys, which is a good game. And then the Saints at the Falcons, which also could be relatively okay. But the Bears at Lions to start off the day, you could just turn it off and put you know, it'd be more entertaining.
Jeff Driscoll versus Mitch Trubisky, baby.
Go on Netflix. Go on Netflix and look up the
Disney Plus.
No. Go on Netflix and look up the fireplace, Christmas fireplace, and just stream that on your TV during your turkey dinner, and just think, wow, this is way more entertaining than the Bears and the Lions.
Some people think other people are crazy for eating their turkey dinner earlier in the day, but I would say that is an advantage, especially for this week. Reason being. Though? Yes, it is. I'll tell you why right now. Because you get to avoid watching this disaster of a football game.
This is a preview of our next episode.
You get to... Yeah, I know. This is a disaster game that I would never, ever want to watch on my own. But because it is Thanksgiving,
we got to talk about
watch
it. We got to talk about this.
Jeff Driscoll, is he a start?
No.
Is Mitch Trubisky a start?
No.
Is David Montgomery a start?
No.
Is any Lions running back a start?
Bo Scarborough or J.D. McKissick or Ty Johnson. No, and no. Marvin Jones.
He could. I don't feel
Kenny
good about
Galladay.
it.
Kenny Galladay has not been playing well as
I don't
of late.
feel good about either of those guys, but
Kenny
they
Galladay
could.
was a bust this week. We didn't even mention him.
Yeah, Marvin Jones, I think, had 7. So not
So, I mean, they're both starts. You kind of against Chicago.
Yeah. I'm not feeling great about either, though. Allen Robinson had 22 this week.
I mean, okay, let's go back to the running back for a second.
Okay.
Chicago hasn't been good against the run. So, do you think Bo Scarborough this week had I think it was 16 rushes for 89 yards? He's been okay. If you need him.
Yeah, okay.
Is
fine.
he okay? Okay.
But you can say the same thing about
I had to convince you.
People this week.
Montgomery against the Lions is a good matchup,
I know. It is. People this week are going to be like, oh, it's Thanksgiving. I have this guy on my team. I might as well start him because I get to watch I'm going to watch the game either way. Might as well start my guy.
Yeah.
So there's going to be people starting Montgomery this week. There's going to be people starting Mr. Bo Jackson himself. There's people going to be starting Jeff Driscoll.
We didn't talk about a bust.
Who?
Amari Cooper.
Oh, because he wasn't even on the list because he had 0. Yeah.
You know who had more catches than him? Stephen Gilmore.
Stephen Gilmore, yeah. I saw that. That's funny.
Anyway, and then the tight end, T.J. Hawkinson or Trey Burton. You don't want either of those guys. Allen Robinson against the Lions. Yes,
I'd say yes.
I would say that's a good matchup. Tied 22 points last week. He has a good matchup, but he never follows up a good performance.
I know, he never does, yeah.
And he's on the road. So gross.
And it's a Thursday game.
So gross. I would start him with caution.
Yeah.
Very much so. Let's talk about the next. That's a 39-point over-under. A lot of 39-point over-unders.
I'm probably betting the under. I'm not even going to lie.
I'm going to put this on just because you've got to watch football.
Of course. It's going to be on.
Yeah.
But are you going to be focusing on the game or are you going to be chit-chat? Like, if
I
there's
wish I had somebody to focus on. I have back to truck. No, I don't. I don't. I just picked Matt Prater up for a week for fun. I have Harrison Butker, who's not playing on Thursday.
Should I start Devin Singletary this week?
Just
we'll
to
get
watch
to that
him.
later.
Just to watch. Bills at Cowboys, 45-point over/under on Thursday Night Football. We have our good friend Josh Allen, who's had a couple of very good games. Dallas is a tough defense. I would not play him this week if you had a choice.
Yeah.
And then you have, on the flip side of it, Dak to the pack, Prescott.
Okay, Dak.
You're a Dak Prescott owner. What do you do? He's coming off a 7-point game against New England, which was expected. Buffalo's tough against the pass.
If I have a better option, I'm probably going with the better option. But if you don't, I think Dak can get he'll get close to 20, I think, this week.
Yeah.
He'll get 18, 19, I think, somewhere in that range.
Last time he played and had a 7-8 point game this season. He followed that up with a 25-point game against Green Bay, which at the time was a top 5 pass defense. So I think against Buffalo, maybe, but it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
And then you have Zeke, who's a start.
Obviously. So my Devin Singletary question.
Yeah, give us what you think on Devin.
I'm probably not going to start him. I love my man.
Yeah, because Dallas has a good rush defense.
And yeah, he hasn't got a touchdown. I think the last since his big game, his breakout game, you could say he hasn't got a touchdown since then, and he hasn't been involved in the passing game really.
Right.
So,
are you nervous about Coop? There it is.
Amari Cooper. A little bit, but I think he typically when he has a bad game, even with Oakland in the past, he would follow it up with a good game.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind him. You also had the combo, and not that this is something that you should have. They're probably owned in your league, I would guess. I'm not sure about Randall Cobb, but you have Michael Gallup and Randall Cobb, who both were good against the Patriots. Probably lack of a better option.
Yeah,
where the case in that. But Gallup has been okay. Either one of those guys, I would sit against the Buffalo Bills.
I'm still
on the other side of you got Cole Beasley. And you have John Brown. John Brown has been very good this year. Do you like either of them against the Cowboys?
Cole Beasley, his revenge game?
No.
No, yeah, probably not. He has been a consistent 10-point-a-week guy, so if you're in a deep league and need to flex, Cole Beasley's been pretty solid. But I wouldn't start him. I would start John Brown, though. He hasn't given me a reason not to.
And then you got Jason Witten for the Cowboys, who I don't know that is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not starting Jason.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you got Dawson Knox, but that's not a good idea.
Yeah, probably not.
The last Thursday night football. I keep saying Thursday night football because that's just what it is.
Well, it is Thursday night football.
It's
8 o'clock.
It is Thursday night football game. The last Thursday football game of this Thanksgiving discussion is Saints at Falcons, 49-point over-under. So this is a little bit better. You have Matty Ice, who's going up against New Orleans, who has had a not good pass defense.
I'm sitting him.
Is that a hyperbole response?
He was at home.
I think it's a hyperbole
against
response.
the Buccaneers, who are the worst team in the league against quarterbacks. They ranked number 32,
You're in the hyperbole.
and he scored 7 points.
Yeah. Against New Orleans?
Against Tampa, he got 7. It doesn't matter. I'm going to look up.
At home?
He was at home against Tampa and got 7 points.
All right, never mind.
He hasn't scored 20 since week 6.
That kind of blows. That blows. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. If I need to start him, then I'll start him. But otherwise, there's no.
I mean,
reason.
Using my head would say he's gonna actually have a decent week because he's coming off a bad fantasy week and it's Matt Ryan at home against a team. It's a decent matchup.
Right.
But he had 7 points against the Buccaneers at home last week. So I'm not going to start him. I'm sorry.
Drew Brees.
Yeah, probably.
Alvin Kamara is an obvious start. And then you got Brian Hill or Devonta Freeman if Devonta Freeman does return. My guess is that they hold Devonta Freeman out because this is a short week. Yeah. So we'll see if Devonta Freeman plays. If he does, against New Orleans is a bad matchup, so I'm not really excited about it. But Mike Thomas is a start. And then Jared Cook, do you like him against Atlanta?
I do.
Okay, and then we're on the other side we have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. At this point, both are starts. Calvin Ridley's more of a let's hope he catches a touchdown receiver.
Yeah.
So he's good, and then obviously you got to start Julio. Keep an eye on the injury report with Julio. I don't think his injury was anything serious, so I think he should be okay.
I don't think he's practicing, but he never does.
Well, that explains a lot. Titans at Colts, 43.5 point over under. You got Ryan Tannehill against Indianapolis. Do you ride Tannehill out and hope that he ends up being relatively decent?
I think at this point you might want to. I don't think he's gonna have a great week this week, though. Yeah, I really don't think he's gonna have a great week.
Like if you wait one more week on the Ryan.
Yeah, Tannehill I would wait. I would honestly.
There are gonna be people who pick him up, and then if he has a bad game, they'll drop him. But then you don't want to
take that chance.
They have him have a 25-point game, and then everyone.
No, I pick him up.
Yeah. Oh, now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm not sure if I'm gonna.
I like playing the game of waiting a week and seeing what happens. Jacoby Brissett against
Titans.
Against the Titans is not a good play. Yeah. And then you got Jonathan Williams, who most likely will start in this game. Against Jacksonville is also, against Tennessee is also a bad matchup. They just gave up 32 fantasy points to Leonard Fournette, but I'm not really sure if that's going to happen.
Jonathan Williams. Most of the season,
he will get the touches, 20 plus.
I think if you need him, you can use him. I'll say that.
And then you got Derrick Henry. If this is a scoring game, high scoring game, I don't think Derrick Henry will have a good game.
He's a must start.
He's a start, yeah. You see, you're getting sweaty already.
He's a top 10 running back. He's a must start every week.
Rest of season has Derrick Henry 9 for the ECR.
Right. He's a top 10 running back.
Anyway, so I'm not saying not to start him. I'm just saying, there's a ceiling. There's a ceiling here. But everyone gets all sweaty when Derrick Henry has one of his big games, and then he has 8, 7, 6, 8, 8, and then all of a sudden he has a big game, and everyone's like, top 10 running back, and then 8, 7, 8, 6.
I'm just stating the fact that he's a top 10 running back. He's, he is
top 5.
He's top 5.
I know that. Keep your pants on.
He's top 5.
I hate him. And then if you need A.J. Brown, I wouldn't start him against Indianapolis this week unless you're entirely desperate. And then there's no other options in Tennessee. Yeah. Hilton has been bad the last couple of weeks. Do you want to start him or do you want to sit him on the bench?
I really don't want to start Hilton.
And then Jack Doyle makes his ever anticipated.
He could be a start if you need tight end. If Evan Ingram misses another week or somebody is injured, he could be.
Let's get to these last two matchups. Jets at Bengals, 39-point over under. We got Darnold against Cincinnati, and we got Finley against the Jets.
I should have brought this up yesterday when we were talking about the news. I forgot, but Finley has been benched for Andy Dalton.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah. So they're
when did that happen?
Right after the game, they announced that Andy Dalton's gonna start next week.
Mother of heaven, what the freak is going on there?
Yeah, they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's back to Andy Dalton.
Zach Taylor. That was a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you hire an offensive
Why
line
did
coach.
he bench?
Running backs coach? Why did he bench Andy Dalton to begin with?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It wasn't his fault. I don't like Andy Dalton as much as the next person, but it really isn't his fault.
It really wasn't. So, okay, Andy Dalton starting this week. News to me.
Does it affect anything?
No. I forgot even who the Bengals were playing this week, the Jets. So I actually don't think this is a bad matchup for Cincinnati. I think you can start Joe Mixon and be okay.
Yeah, hope.
And then if you still own Tyler Boyd, I don't actually think if you need a play, he's a bad matchup either.
Last time Tyler Boyd had a good matchup, I started me at 2 points. So
it sounds like we talked about last offseason about not holding grudges, and you have been you've been holding those grudges this year.
Yeah, I have.
You gotta let them go, boss. Gotta let them go.
It's hard.
And then you got on the other side, Le'Veon Bell, who's a start. Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson. I think Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder are if you have a flex or you need a wide receiver for this week and somebody got hurt. I don't know. Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson, not bad plays against Cincinnati. It looks gross because both of them aren't consistent at all.
Yeah, I know.
It makes me feel violated.
It is. But yeah, you got a point though.
Ryan Griffin, good matchup.
You mean Chris Herndon?
Chris Herndon. I mean, yeah. Sorry. And then you got Redskins at Panthers. Dwayne Haskins threw 3 interceptions and pulled off his first win.
He threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
And not only that, did you hear what happened at the end of the game?
No.
Coach couldn't find him, so he put in the backup quarterback to take the knee. You know what Haskins was doing?
What?
During the game, he was taking selfies with fans.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's real.
Yep, 100%. The coach couldn't find where he was to put him in the game. The game was over. So Haskins, you know how when players on the bench, they kind of like do whatever? I don't think Haskins knew that they had the ball back so they could kneel it. So he was like he was he wasn't in the stands, but he was like in that area taking selfies with.
The more games Haskins is able to win, the smaller the opportunities that they can draft Tua.
Yeah.
So they can keep his job.
But they would be such idiots to do that anyway.
Oh, yeah.
They need to draft a team before they draft
another quarterback.
Yeah.
Redskins at Panthers. Let's talk about the game. Haskins obviously not a start. Nope. On the other side, who do we got?
Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen is not a start. Oh, against Washington.
He actually did have a good week
last week.
But
every time we do this,
Kyle Allen.
Kyle
Allen is
rips your heart out. Obviously, McCaffrey's a start. DJ Moore is a start. Do you like Curtis Samuel this week?
I think if you need a receiver, he could be good too.
Okay, and then Olsen. Do you like Olsen?
If you have Olsen on your team, you're probably starting him week to week. So yeah.
And then on the other side, we have Geis, who how did he do this week? Did he play?
He had 4 fantasy points.
Ugh.
I don't know how many carries or what he did, but I can look it up.
I totally forgot to flag him.
Darius Geis. He had 4.3 fantasy points.
Okay.
He had 10 carries for 32 yards. And 1 6-yard catch. Man. So he's still, I mean, 11.
To be good.
He's only getting 11 touches.
Desperately want him to be good. And then we have Terry McLaurin, who had a good game last week.
He
10 points.
He had 5 catches for 72 yards.
But with Dwayne Haskins, he's not a good start. Yeah. There's not a guy on the Redskins that is worth starting.
Yep.
I would not even. It's just gross. That'll do it for our matchup breakdowns for this week. We still got, 10 more for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow. Good luck for us. That'll do it for this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to listen on tomorrow's episode as we break down more matchups, discuss our starts and six, and Turkey and Thanksgiving and all that good stuff happen tomorrow. So maybe we'll have extra special items for you for that episode. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.